Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Where's the Call Sheet. We have Khalid and Corey here today. Before we get into talking to them about their rich histories and rich pasts, so a little housewarming. First and foremost, if you noticed, I recently got a haircut. I look fantastic. You know, the sides here, I'll help you pull the headphones off a little bit. The sides look good. The back doesn't look as good, and I'm going to awkwardly put this on with one hand now, but you can't see the back of my head, so it's totally fine. And this is relevant because of news number 2. We are now on Spotify, so if you don't want to deal with seeing my ugly face or dealing with my horrible dad jokes, just go to Spotify and then, zoom ahead, and you don't have to see anything, and it won't be a problem. So, pretty cool we're on Spotify. That's also not like a brag, because technically I could go record audio of my dog barking out back and put it on Spotify, but we're on Spotify, so it's pretty cool. So drive it in the car, be safe, don't be looking at faces and stuff. But yeah, let's get back into this episode. We got a good one for you. Like I said, we got Corey and Khalid here, who were childhood friends. When did you guys meet?
I was 13, 14.
So high school, late middle school, high school type stuff?
9th grade.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in 9th grade.
I was a sophomore.
And he was in 10th grade.
Yeah, 10th grade.
Oh, so you had younger friends.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Football, man.
Yeah, we were on the same football team.
Oh, okay.
Football team.
So,
That makes way more sense. I was friends with older kids in high school and whatnot too, not because of sports, just because of those were the people live down the street and stuff. So I just didn't know.
Just cool.
No, the exact opposite. But we were all losers together.
Later on the track team too, right?
Yeah, track.
Remember when I was running the 100-meter dash?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, I was doing shot and disc.
It's like, look at this big
We were
motherfucker
running a 100-meter dash.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Running 10-7s and shit. 10-7.
10-7.
Yeah,
Okay.
100 meter.
Okay. Well, tell me, what, going then, tell me about the friendship. How did we get here? Give me the runaround from 9th, 10th grade, whatever, to today. What are you guys doing?
Okay, so
Yeah.
on the football team, him and his brother, they were like legends, like superheroes walking around the school.
And that's not hyperbole, actually, look it up in a record book type deal. I do know that information.
Yeah. So see these guys in the hallway, the practice field. I was actually better friends with his older brother when I was in high school, and then after high school, he would come to my house, when I've had parties and stuff like that. And then at one point, Khalid came back from the military, and I had ran into him twice. Once at the club with Jesse, and then another at JP's in the parking lot.
I was drunk both times,
Yeah,
wasn't I?
man.
Yeah.
So was I. Yeah.
I was in the Navy, man.
What else is there to do?
And then 10 years went by, and then we both moved to Kansas City at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were in LA, I was in Kazakhstan,
Yeah.
and then we came back. Yeah.
Okay, well then what brought, those are two very different places to choose Kansas City. So, why did you go from not even living in America to Kansas City?
So my aunt lives here. My mom's older sister. I first moved to Kansas City when I was 2. I was born in Wichita, Kansas. Moved to Kansas City, and my mom passed away here. And then we moved to St. Louis and a bunch of other places. But after the military, 2007, when I got out, I was looking for somewhere to go to school. I needed it to be stable, and I needed a place to live, because despite what they tell you when you get out of the military, it's like you go from having money to not having any money.
Yeah.
And you got to go through a process of, trying to get your school and then all your benefits and all that stuff going. So my aunt was gracious enough to let me sleep in her basement while I went to Avila University. And so that's kind of how Kansas City became my adult home. So when I left Kazakhstan, I came back to Kansas City.
And you never left? You never moved again after that?
After Kazakhstan?
No, after you came back to Kansas City and you went to school and all that. Did you leave
okay.
again, or have you've been here since?
Oh, no, man. So I came to Kansas City in 2009. 2008, a year after I got out of the military, went to Avila. While I was at Avila, I studied in Japan for 2 years.
Okay.
Kansai University, Kansai Daigaku.
Shout out, if you want to sponsor the podcast, feel free. Just let you know. It's available.
Yeah. So studied there for 2 years, and then completed my undergrad, and then I went right into my master's degree, which took me to like 32 other countries.
Oh, damn.
So my master's degree curriculum required that I study in 5 different countries. That was part of the curriculum. And the 5 countries I chose were England, Austria, Netherlands, Switzerland, and China.
Okay. What were you getting your degree in?
International relations.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm not sure if you said that or not. I apologize if you did.
Yeah, and then so I spent a year and a half doing that. Also studied abroad in Cuba and Ethiopia during that time. And then I came back to Kansas City, and then I went to Kazakhstan, and then I came back and started making movies.
Oh, shit. I was expecting, like, I lived in Denver, and then I lived in, just kidding. I knew not exactly, but I knew that you were well-traveled. I knew that you, went off to do some big stuff. But obviously we're glad that you're back in Kansas City, which makes AGA possible. So where were you this whole time? Not to short, anything. Like, you were in LA doing what?
I was working in the medical industry, in the tech industry, and then the pharmaceutical industry. And then I was also studying as an actor. So I studied the Meisner technique for about 6 months at the Sanford Meisner Center. And then I did scene study at the Peter Wise Actor Studio in North Hollywood. And right as I was starting to get auditions and getting confident enough to send them in, I moved to Kansas City.
Perfect. I have the confidence now to audition, but I don't want to because I'm going to move to Kansas City.
But no, so I got a lot of family here. My mom lives in Sedalia, so about an hour outside of town. And yeah, so just her and my 2 sisters, they live over here. So I got closer to them and able to help take care of the family matters, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and you both made your way back to Kansas City, but it doesn't sound like either of you were you didn't move to Kansas City to be filmmakers, right? Like, you both had separate jobs, like full-time non-film industry jobs. At what point did you guys go, like, let's make a movie?
Almost immediately. Once he got here, he threw out a Facebook post.
Yeah.
And it said, I want to make a movie, and it's a community endeavor. And I saw some concept art.
Yeah.
And then I hit him up, and I was like, yo, what is this? What are you talking about? And so we met in 2017.
Yep.
Met back up in 2017. I remember it was nice weather, and I was like, where should we meet? He's like, well, I'm working downtown. And I was like, is there a good patio anywhere around there? Because I'm fresh off, the road from LA. It's like I still am trying to be outside somewhere.
You're a Fola, fresh out of LA.
Fresh out of LA.
I hope that doesn't become a thing. That's a horrible phrase. That's a horrible
phrase.
Oh, no.
Please
tell me you don't say that.
No, I've never said that.
I just wanted to.
He's a Fola. Yeah.
I've never said that. No, but anyway, So then he tells me about this superhero movie idea that he has, and that and then right after that, he tells me the community initiative and how it's going to work together. Yeah. And so I said, I will help you do this. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I will help you do this.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to get it done.
So Sapiens was the first? It wasn't Affection of the Tiger was the
Sapiens,
first one?
Bro.
Oh, okay.
I've been on that community shit since day one.
Well, I knew you were on that, but you can be on the community shit but be wanting to do a project that isn't Sapiens. You know what I mean? Like, I
will say, like, I have the instinct. I know this man's story before, and it is who he is, and his story is the reason why I've always wanted to be friends with him and his brother and learn from them. These guys were older than me on the football team.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like that. But, and so, even back then in high school, before, all of the military career and all of that, these guys had a certain way of doing things.
Yeah. Well, let's get some context. So what was Sapiens? I guess what is Sapiens, because it still exists. Like, we don't need the full synopsis, but what's the plot line of Sapiens? What have you done with Sapiens so far? And what is the overall goal of Sapiens? Well,
can I just say real quick, because I don't want to take over the podcast here, he knows what Sapiens is.
Well, yeah, but no one wants to hear me talk for an hour.
Yeah, I know, but you know what it is.
Okay, well, here.
But let me say, man, we've done some cool shit together. And Sapiens is one of them.
Yeah, well, that's why I really thought that Tiger was the first, because that was the first thing that I did with you guys. Like, I knew that Sapiens might have been like an idea and a thought that you guys had discussed at a point in time,
Everything
but I thought
has
it was
been
the first
on the road to Sapiens.
Right,
Every other thing that we've
tell you
done
the truth,
has still
like,
been on the road.
I didn't even want to. I didn't even want to do the Tiger shit. I didn't even want to do it.
You wanted to?
Yeah,
even,
it's me that keeps pushing.
Well, you're a smart man, because that's the greatest story that's ever been told. Like I would. I'm trying to think of a way that we don't have to go into your entire backstory to talk about Affections of a Tiger is a story that every American would watch. Now, that doesn't mean every American's going to like it, but every single American in the entire country and beyond, and people that aren't American citizens, would watch that movie.
All right, so
Tell me I'm wrong.
Sapiens is a movie that artists are superheroes, right? And their superhero ability is determined by the art form they practice.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's the baseline. I mean, you can watch the trailers on your website, right?
Yep. On the website, it's on YouTube.
Is that agakc.com? I can add that into things. So yeah, agakc.com, you can see the trailer that we did for Sapiens. It was like, what, 3 days of...
AJKC.
agakc.com.
Yeah.
agakc.com, sorry. It was a trailer. It's like 3 minutes. We filmed it in 7 days.
Yep.
There's something like 40 locations in the like. It's absurd how much content is in the trailer for the amount of time that one we worked on it, and two, how long the trailer is in itself. Like I've seen trailers that are 2 minutes. That's like 3 scenes, and like and it works perfectly. Like there's not a problem with that. But there's also this that it's 2 minutes, and it's just like. Oh, we're here. Then you're here. It looks like different movies.
Right.
Like if you're like, because I have a bunch of it in my reel and stuff, and people, the thing with people that are, with reels and stuff is that people like they use the same project, and it's like their whole reel. It's like, okay, cool, you worked on 2 things last year, like congrats. But like with Sapiens, it looked like I did like 8 different special effects driven movies. And I'm like, yes, this is great. Like this is fucking fantastic.
It's what it's meant to do, man. It's meant to elevate everyone who's associated with it by the project itself being of high quality, right?
Yeah.
And it's supposed to showcase the region, and that's what it did for us at AFM. Showing Sapiens at AFM, they're like, all of that was in Kansas City? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and I was going the long roundabout way, but you know, all that traveling and shit exposed me to a bunch of different cultures, and that's what made me want to like explore like a cultural project, you know, cinematically, on my own. But I've always had this community thing, you know, like public service is a part of who I am, so I've carried that into my filmmaking modus operandum. And so those two things just kind of combined, and that's why I felt like, all right, well, if I could come up with a dope concept about artists with superpowers, which I haven't seen, right? And then I could figure out a way to incorporate real artists from throughout the community, and like we could all elevate our status together. Like, why would I try to do anything else, basically? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, because like when you watch a trailer, obviously in the feature it would, or series, whatever it ends up being, it's prevalent too. But in the series, like when you see the breakdancers, they're actual breakdancers. They're not an actor that you train to do 2 moves for the trailer. There's I'm trying to think of what other scenes are. There was the guy, the painter. I can't remember. I'm sorry that I can't remember these people's names. Okay. I feel so bad. But there's the painter, and like you can see the paint. There's the graffiti artist. You can see like it's all authentic and it's all real, and that's what the drive of the project is. And a lot of people nationwide, but Kansas City specifically, love to talk about promoting everybody and community and all this kind of stuff. But there are very few people who actually do it. And I will give the two of you a lot of credit right here, because you have the entire time from day one when I met you guys, whatever bar we went to that one day after I met you on Beer and Cigarettes.
We met at the same place that I met him at after 10 years.
Oh, nice.
No.
And I got introduced to a drink that we don't remember the name of.
No. That
it was
wasn't the same spot, dude.
Yeah, it was. We were just inside.
We were inside. It's a different spot. We were inside.
You and I met at BRGR downtown. We met him at a place in Leawood.
Yeah, BRGR.
No,
It just wasn't downtown.
No, it
No,
wasn't
you're
there.
100% right. I was just seeing if you would go.
Okay,
There or not,
yeah.
To be completely honest with you.
It was called the Ainsworth. The Ainsworth.
I was there.
Yeah, you were there.
All right.
We met him
Yeah.
at the
Never mind.
Ainsworth.
Let's continue.
Because that was one of the days I called Brittany and I was like, because like, you know, you flashed the government stuff at me and you were like, this is like my high, like you told me your backstory and high profile, and I'm like, Brittany, I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure if I was supposed to know a lot of stuff that I was told today.
Oh yeah.
I fully believe that the government is listening to me right now, even if I was by myself, just from other things that have gone on in my life.
Yeah.
And so I remember I got off the phone with her, and the whole car ride I got my phone, and I was just like, I promise you I did not see anything. I promise you I did not do anything. I promise you I would not. Because I was like, there was nothing bad. Like, that's a hyperbole. But like, it was one of those that I was like, I met this dude like an hour ago, and like, being very oversharing right now, but like it was cool, like it was fun, like it obviously worked out. We've known each other for a long time now. It's not like you're some random stranger that was like, hey, random dude, talk to me for 15 minutes, I'll never see you again. So what is holding Sapiens back? Like, why? I mean, that was like 2 years ago now that we filmed that, and you guys have obviously been talking about this for even longer. So why have we not seen the feature yet? Like, what is going on with
I'll give
that?
the first answer. Because we're not going to settle.
Say that one more time because
We're
I have
not-
your mic turned down.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're not going to settle when it comes to making Sapiens.
Elaborate on that.
So it needs to be of a certain caliber, which is going to require a certain cast, which is going to require a certain budget, and we're not going to settle for anything less. So it hasn't got made yet.
So we're just waiting for the right person to come through with the check and say, hey, make the movie. Basically.
Sort of.
That's a very simplified version of saying
We've already had that to a certain extent.
Yeah.
A person that's willing to come through with the check. But it takes a lot more than that.
Yeah.
It takes a few different checks, and then it takes a few different people as far as casting, right? And then one cast member will get you the next one and the next one. So
Well, you could make an argument that money would help with that too, though.
yeah,
You
I mean,
know?
you could, if you had the right check, you could pay everyone one fell swoop. But then, you know, the way we do things and how we operate from the ground up, in that foundational approach, it's just a little bit slower.
I mean, there's obviously it's hard to sell a movie. It's hard to finance
Yeah.
a movie.
Yeah.
What number what's the number? Like, what are you trying to raise?
No less than $5 million at this point.
Yeah, like that. You can't go to Walmart and
Yeah.
go, get $5 million. Well,
Right,
That's a horrible
right.
because you have to spend money to get it from Walmart. But you know what I'm saying? Like that's a lot of money, and I haven't read the feature script. I don't think now that I say that, but I know the concept and I know everything else, and it's worth it. I would actually argue that $5 million is too low.
Yeah, it is too low. It is.
That $5 million would make it an indie when it needs to be a blockbuster, which
Yep.
that's all just opportunities.
But I'm thinking like $1 million to make the movie and $4 million on the cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's how all movies are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see these budgets of these, like, I can't remember what Wakanda Forever and like Top Gun and all that were, but they, or Avatar. Avatar's like a couple $100 million movie, and the cast is like half of it, and CGI's the other half.
Wow.
And then the crew gets
Yeah.
boned. It's
Yeah.
like, your movie made $1 billion.
Yeah.
Here's your $60,000 for the 6 months you
Yeah.
worked on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So no, it's definitely. I mean, that's the biggest part of all of it, which is kind of this to kind of help us ease into the bulk of what we wanted to talk about, which is the incentive in Missouri. Because because Kansas just did one too, so I guess we can touch on that a little bit. I'm not as familiar. But that's part. I know the part about you guys not settling for anything is that you don't want to film this movie elsewhere. I know with Tiger specifically, you guys have been offered, hey, make this movie, which again is a great movie, but make it. Was it L.A.?
LA or Atlanta.
LA and Atlanta, yeah, but you didn't want to do that. You wanted to film it here, which is the same thing with Sapiens, which I obviously 100% appreciate.
Well, more so than that, I wanted to maintain the crew that I had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was loyal to the individuals that helped us produce the short for BET. And I told BET that I needed these people to be involved in the project, and I wasn't willing to leave them to get the money myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's obviously very noble. It just speaks even more to it too, which is kind of some of the points I want to make in the tax incentive and whatnot, is that the industry is cutthroat in general, but the second that you start adding, I just tapped the mic. That was so fucking stupid.
Go ahead and tap.
Hello.
A lot of this is getting edited. A lot of this is getting edited.
Just to let you know, there was like 3 hours these guys showed up late. You know, I've just been waiting like a worried mother.
It's very true. Very
anyways,
true.
What the fuck was I talking about?
You were talking about the incentive.
Oh, it's cutthroat.
incentives,
It's cutthroat. Yeah. So the industry in general is cutthroat. Like, I'm going up for a job against this other person. Like, that's cutthroat. I'm trying to pitch this project, but there's someone else pitching the project just close enough that that's cutthroat. Then you add in the business aspect of this, and like, it's just a bloodbath.
Right.
Like, once the financing and stuff gets involved, like, it's just game over. I mean, I'm dealing with that with World of Cardboard right now. Is that like, you can have all the ideas in the world, you can have all the connections in the world, but when it comes down to the money aspect of it, you're like, I've been waiting how long? Like, this has been the thing that I've got going down is what you guys know about. I'm going to do a whole episode about the thing, so I don't need to explain it. Has been sitting on the desk of someone waiting for a money approval for almost 2.5 months now. Why?
Yeah.
I'm not asking for a lot. I wasn't even the one that asked for the amount of money. They were the one that's like, yeah, this is what we think it would cost to make it. I was like, dope, that sounds really low. Let's fucking go. And it's just sitting, wait, and it doesn't make sense. So anytime that you can add an incentive, no pun intended, to an investor or whatever, it's gonna be a good thing. So Missouri obviously has been pushing for an incentive for a couple of years now. We'll talk about Kansas in a minute, but they think that they're close to being at the point where we're going to get this passed and it's going to go. And before we go any deeper, now that I think about it, actually, I just want to make a big disclaimer to anybody out there. Everything that I'm about to say, everything that they're about to say is from, like, we're not sitting here claiming to be politicians. We're not sitting here claiming to be lawmakers. Like, we could misunderstand something. We're not experts or anything. This is 3 people. Citizens. We are 3 citizens who are dealing with the information that we've been given and the information that we have access to, and we are acting accordingly. So if anyone wants to, correct us, if anyone wants to go back and forth, like, we got 2 extra seats at this table. Like, we can do this again.
We will come back.
Like, really, like, and I want
round
that.
table.
And I want that. Like, I actually just got, so Missouri, I just recently got into because I've been traveling a lot, obviously, but now that I'm back more in town, like, I was like, okay, like, let's figure this out. Let me be a part of this. And then Kansas just announced their thing not too long ago, and someone that's part of the Kansas stuff, who I'll keep their name anonymous for now, just because I'm not sure if he's going to be upset with me about that. I'll tell you guys later. But he wants to sit down with me to ask me again as
on the podcast?
As a citizen. No, he wants just the 2 of us to talk about like. He said eventually we'll get on the podcast.
Man, they never want to go public.
Go public,
no,
baby.
They never want to go public.
As a matter of fact, to his disclaimer, if anybody wants to talk to me about it, let's go live. Let's do a Facebook Live.
All of us will talk about it. Like, all 3 of us want an incentive in
I would love
Missouri,
an incentive.
And all 3 of us want it to be as good for Missouri as possible.
Yeah.
Which is going to lead me to open my book with all my fancy notes. I found this from a long time ago. I don't know why I have these random people's names put in here, but shout out to LeRon ProRes, Devontae, Tony, and Vic.
All right.
Shout them out.
I don't know why I wrote your name in here, and it's about a project. It wasn't anything weird, but like, just so you know, this is what's going down. I'm going to cross this one off.
Okay.
Okay, so don't look at my notes because it keeps
it looks like Japanese from here.
It basically is because I can't.
What's in that book?
What's in this special book? Okay, so what I'm gonna do, we're gonna play a little game to start this off with. All right.
All right, I love games.
I'm gonna list like it looks like 12-ish states that do not currently have incentives. Okay. One of them just passed an incentive in August and it hasn't been implemented yet. And I want you guys to guess which one of the 1 states in here has not done it. I'm going to give the population of each state too because it's relevant down the line. Okay. Alaska. Actually, I'll give you the populations later. Screw that. Alaska, Delaware, Florida, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, New Hampshire, North Dakota, South Dakota, Vermont, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. Which one of those just passed their incentive and presumably would go into effect early 2023?
New Hampshire.
No. Way up.
Florida.
So Florida's the obvious. Florida and Michigan are the 2 obvious ones, right?
Okay.
You felt right in the... This is so great when lesson plans work. This is
I didn't feel that was obvious.
Well, look at this. So Florida's got 22 million population.
I was just trying to think about where I would want to make a movie.
Oh, okay.
Really, though. So Florida had an incentive for a really long time. They have a 22 million population. They have a shit ton of people. They are working on an incentive. It has not been voted on yet, but is more than likely going to pass at the end of 2023.
Okay.
Their incentive, they do have incentives for like individual cities. So like Miami has something, Orlando has
Oh,
something.
yeah, yeah.
And they're small, they're not huge, but they do have something in Florida. But Florida's wording is that 60% of the workforce has to be local Floridians. That is verified addresses, not the LLC workaround, which do you guys know about the LLC workaround?
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at the fucking camera.
60% is what he's
I
looking.
know.
But do you guys know
I
about
know.
do you guys know about the LLC workaround? Like this is
yeah.
why
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah.
haven't
Yeah.
talked about
They
it.
started the LLC in the
Yeah,
city.
so,
and,
so,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
for anybody that doesn't
It's a
know,
strategy.
Yeah, well,
It's a strategy.
well, yeah, it's a strategy. There's nothing illegal about it.
Yeah.
I've been on shoots that have utilized it, but for anybody who doesn't know what they do,
ethically,
right? Ethically, it's whatever. But we're also dealing with movies, which doesn't have the most ethics when it comes to the business side of anything. So
Well,
it's not really a surprise.
Well, yeah, but I'll tell you right now, ethically, I have no problem setting up a business in the city of Kansas City or moving ours for the specific purpose of a film tax incentive to get a movie made if it requires it.
So that ethically is fine though, because you live here.
Yeah.
Or you guys
Yeah.
live close. You lease on it. Like you guys are close
Yeah.
enough. What
We're
other
in the
people
metro.
what other people do is what they would do. So Missouri passes their incentive, right? A company from LA, New York, wherever, creates an LLC in the state of Missouri. The wording of the bill, and this is just generally like what the bills usually have, is they say you have to hire, the money has to go through workers of Missouri, right? However, whatever percentage it is. So this company creates this LLC in Missouri. Now they hire all of their employees as full-time employees of this LLC that are not in Missouri. They bring in the people that they have worked with on every other movie that they've ever worked on to Missouri. And for the 3-6 months, whatever it is, they are being funneled money through a Missouri business
Yep.
to Missouri employees because they are full-time employees of this company.
Yeah.
And then the production ends and they take their money and they go home.
That's right.
That money doesn't stay in Missouri. It doesn't like go to Missouri citizens, we go to the grocery store, you go to, like whatever. It doesn't get re-added into the Missouri economy. It goes to the LA economy. It goes to the New York economy. It goes to the Atlanta economy.
The New Hampshire.
The New Hampshire economy. It's super scummy, but it's a tactic that people use, and it's going to be relevant for other things that I have to say. So Florida's
Yeah.
the first one at 22. Michigan, this is another one that you'll like. They have a 10 million population. Their incentive's 25%. With you get an extra 5% literally for just putting in your movie filmed in Michigan. So you get 30% effectively. Like that's an easy thing to put in the credits.
That's
filmed
actually
in
pretty
Michigan.
smart.
It's incredibly
Yeah.
smart. But they have a 30% incentive. Okay? So the state that actually has the incentive that they voted on is Indiana, which has a population of 6.8 million.
Okay.
Missouri has a population of 6.1 million. Both are conservative leaning states. It's very similar. So if a state was looking for a roadmap of like who's someone that's doing this right now that we can kind of like keep an eye on and see how they do, Indiana would work perfectly because even when you look at the tax numbers, Indiana's state income tax is 3.23%. Missouri's income tax is 5.3%. So like money wise, like we have a higher income tax here in Missouri, but we also have 700,000 less people. So like tax wise, again, I'm not an expert by any means. You would think that the tax money would roughly work out to be the same amount of money, right? Indiana's bill is 20% base up to 30 based off of a bunch of different things with no cap and no cap per project, $300 million per year.
Wow.
Now,
amazing.
you guys have been to the meetings more than I have. What's the Missouri percentage and what's the Missouri cap?
18 million cap.
So it's up to 40%. There's a few different ways to get there,
Yeah.
more than just a couple. And it's, right now it's set, they're talking about a $16 million
16
cap.
million, yeah.
But, this is a living, breathing document as of right now.
Right, yeah, no, it's not signed. It's not like it's done and they're like, this is all we're doing, that's it. But
Yeah.
to me, and this is where I start having my problems with what's going on in Missouri right now, is that I feel like Missouri doesn't know what they're doing and no one wants to stand up and be like, hey, like, guys, I admit I don't know what we're doing. I admit we don't know what we're doing. We need some sort of help.
Well, let me add on to that, because most of the research I've done about the Missouri film incentive is looking at what the naysayers have stated as the reasons why they don't feel that we should have the incentive, right? So there's a think tank, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. There's a think tank that they in Missouri, and they conduct research, economic research, etc. And then they write these articles on their website, and these individuals were the key individuals that led to not only the original bill getting dissolved in 2013, but that have been the roadblock for getting passed up till now. Maybe the legislators are different at this point ideologically, but the issue that I see is that the people who are talking about the bill, the people who are supposed to be the experts, etc. I've read the bill. I haven't read every sentence, but it appears to me. Well, I'm not even gonna say it appears. It is.
Yeah.
The people who are talking about the bill and the people in the film community who use this fucking line all the time. Well, we just had a tax incentive. Everything that they have no idea about what the research is that the naysayers have used to legitimize their stance on why we should not have the tax incentive. And the fact that these people know more about the economic situation of the state and how the tax incentive will impact the state from a filmmaking perspective, they know more about it than the film community.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's your problem. I mean, so part of it, too,
That's
is
the
that
problem.
tax incentives in Missouri have historically failed across the board. That's not just a film thing. That's all of them. And that's why the state has people like this think tank that will do that. Like,
Yeah.
the state does not like tax incentives. And you're 100% right that people need to educate themselves because, and I've run into it, too, just in my couple of weeks since, I've been back, but also over the years that I've lived and worked here, a lot of people, they just want to make movies, but they don't understand how to make a movie. Like, they don't understand the business aspect of the industry and, like, what it takes to actually make a movie. Like, people think that, like, well, I'm going to do this short film on the weekend for 2 days. Oh, it went great. It won Best Picture at 4 festivals that I submitted to on filmfreeway.com for free. I can make a feature film. That's just like doing 10 short films in a row. And it's like there's so much more into it than that, and you have to become involved to figure out what that is. And like I'm still learning. Like I sound cocky sitting up here talking, but like I don't know everything. Like
Me neither.
you couldn't give me $100 million and say go make this movie, and I would go off without a scratch. Like I will fully admit that. I'm not on a soapbox here. I'm upset that when I go to the meeting and they sit there, and I knew we were going to get shakedown, like that. I knew that was coming, and they go, "Yeah, we need $20,000 to, and then we'll have this incentive because we're going to hire these lobbyists." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"You're telling me that this room's got a bunch of millionaires in it, and we need $20,000, and we're sitting here asking people for $50 to get a T-shirt?"
Now, you hit the nail on the head there. Not only for Missouri, but for Kansas as well.
Yeah.
Now, I've been having a conversation with the folks on the Missouri side. I've just recently started having a conversation with the folks on the Kansas side. Don't know how happy either side is with me, but I'm saying what I'm saying. They're coming to the community for the support, but these bills are not going to support the community.
Well, they're not going to support the community, and another false notion that people have is that a film incentive is going to get Missouri filmmakers working, and it's not. Everyone is going to get flown in outside of PAs, unless it is a Missouri-based, like a true Missouri-based production company that is making an effort to hire Missouri crew.
Yeah.
The people that are going to come in, like you could have a movie called Kansas City, and you could film it in the most iconic spaces of all of Kansas City and do 100% of everything here. 95% of that cast and crew will not have ever set foot in Kansas City before the day they should.
And what you're saying is that it should be written into the law that they have to hire locally, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, so it goes 2 ways. So first way is if you're going to advertise and try to get money from us and like, oh, we're going to build this film community up, give us your money to support, then 100,000% yes.
Well, that's what's happening.
Well, so here,
okay,
if that's the effort that they're taking, that they want money from us, they want our support, then yes, we better get a 60+% representation.
Yeah.
And we also should not be not obligated, but we shouldn't only get the shit jobs that no one wants. Like, we should not only get the below the line jobs. We should get some of the key jobs that are out there too.
You're speaking
that should
really
also
good
be
words,
built in.
man.
The other side of it, though, the other side of it, though, is that if they are marketing it as,
I love this house, man.
yeah, the birds go off, the dogs are going to start barking in 10 minutes. We got the turtle tank on the side. Like, this is the most unprofessional podcast set of all time.
I love it. I feel like comfortable.
Feng shui up in this
Feng shui.
motherfucker.
Yeah, like, we're in nature.
You know?
It's fucking great. But what's not fucking great is if the powers that be are going to pitch to us that, hey, we're bringing this tax incentive. It's strictly a business thing. We don't give a fuck about the Missouri, or I don't care about your art. I don't care about that kind of stuff. You can do whatever you want with the bill at that point, because then it's just a money grab, and I fully understand. So it's the wording of these people and the vibe that I'm getting. And again, you guys are in this more than I, or have been in this more than I have, is that they're asking us for everything. They want our support. They want us to think that it's going to do all this stuff for these Kansas City filmmakers, that like these Kansas City films, or these Missouri films, I should say, not just Kansas City. I forget that it's a whole state.
2 states.
2 states, really, yeah. It should, they're holding our hands and they're saying, we'll take you there. And I'm very worried just of the conversations that I've had with both citizens and the other side of stuff, that they are saying that, and then the bill's going to come out and get voted on and passed, and it's not going to have. It's going to have like a.
So how do you
25%.
take precautions against that? How do you guarantee that doesn't happen if the bill passes?
I mean, I'm not giving a dime until I have a guarantee that there's a sizable percentage of people that have to be Missouri residents.
That's interesting.
Like, I don't even want a T-shirt, and I'm not kidding.
That's interesting.
Like, because
yeah, man. I mean, I feel you. I definitely feel you. What I'm taking the approach of the potential. I don't want to see it pass as it's written right now on either side. I'd rather it just not pass, man.
Yeah,
I agree.
You know what I mean? But if there is some language in the bill, in the law, that guarantees that this local community gets hired in a certain capacity, yeah, full support.
Yeah.
And even without that, we've been buying ad space and showing support and wearing the shirts.
yeah. I mean, I
So
will support in other ways besides money, but I won't give a dime until I don't even know how they would do it, because I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how this stuff goes. But if they could come up with a document that guaranteed 50% real Missouri crew minimum, like, okay, you want your 20 grand? Here, I'm help. I don't think the 20 grand's what you need, but I will join in and I will help.
I offered them a conversation about something much larger than 20 grand.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I'd write the check right now.
But you know, we're trying to bring a movie that's going to have a budget of $25 to $60 million here. Who cares about that? Who cares about bringing even a portion of that here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like 20 grand. You know what I mean? There's you can bring a multi-million-dollar movie here. Would that help push the bill forward? I don't know.
I mean, I would hope that it would.
You would think,
There's
right?
also stuff that you can do to go around asking the public for money, like some other notes that I have. So Nebraska recently. So there's a roadmap of states that have done this around us, that have set a roadmap and have been successful in the last 3 to 5 years. So the fact that we have this roadmap and our bills don't match them perfectly is mind-blowing to me. But Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Arkansas. Oklahoma, Cherokee Nation gave them a bunch of money so they could create sound studios and stuff like that and have infrastructure before they passed their bill. Tulsa
met
King.
them.
We hung out with the Cherokee Nation at AFM.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so that's the reason that Tulsa King is in Tulsa.
Yeah.
So everyone thinks it's because of the tax incentive, which to an extent it is, but Cherokee Nation pulled them down. They showed them a state-of-the-art facility. They pulled out the red carpet. They were ready to fucking go, and now Oklahoma is just
Presentation, it goes a long way, and we learned that out there as well, you know.
Yeah, it goes a huge way, and we don't have anything to present. Like, okay, so
Well, let me tell you, Sapiens, when people look at that, they find it unbelievable that was made in Kansas City. The unexpected as well. And
I don't mean representation like that. I mean,
but that's what I'm talking
Presentation.
about. I'm talking
Presentation, sorry.
about the way it's presented in certain areas of the country, and if we're marketing in those areas, people don't know what we're capable of, and I think that's also part of the problem. There's a whole slate of movies that are $500,000, $800,000 that could be coming here, and they don't care about tax incentives if they only knew what this community was capable of.
Mm-hmm.
But you could pull crew from anywhere if you're not using an incentive. Like that at that point, you're just whoever the producer, the showrunner, whatever, just has to get in good with the EPs and get the money and get it started. Like that doesn't matter it doesn't matter who the crew is, because you could have a crew of that's 70% full and then pull in that 30% from wherever you want to. It's not like Kansas City, like, oh, sorry, we're not going to give you Kansas City producers this movie because we don't trust Kansas City. It's like, well, I could hire anybody from anywhere. Like, if you're giving me $500,000, I can fly in people from any part of the country that I want to. So I don't necessarily think that it's the people don't understand the talent. What I think it is, it's the stigma of what Kansas City is. So, like, hypothetically speaking, we get a show. So here, I pulled all this up. So Ozark was a $500 million for the 5 years roughly is what I found on the internet. That one was hard to confirm. So let's just say $100 million a season because I think there's 5. Let's say a $100 million show comes to Kansas City. Most shows today are shot at least 60% on a soundstage. That's another statistic from the internet. And then they go on location for like the exterior scenes and stuff like that. A $100 million movie comes to Kansas City. Where are they filming that? I'm not talking about on location. Where are they filming that on a lot? There's not a single place in Kansas City. I'll just cut you off right there. There's Strange Studios.
You can do Strange, but you can also build really quick.
Yeah.
You can build really quick.
But
they did it in
still...
Louisiana. You drive through Louisiana, you're driving through these cornfields and bayous, and then all of a sudden you see a absolute compound of metal buildings.
But they had stuff in place before that. Atlanta was the same way. Atlanta had I think it was like a 6-stage whatever that existed there. They got the incentive. I can't remember who owned that the lot. Those people saw exponential money. They made 1 million sound stages. Now Atlanta is what it is today. So yes, you can grow quickly, but you have to have something that's ready right now, and we don't. Like, we don't have anything.
Not to win Tulsa King, no.
That's true.
No, not to get something that big. And so Nebraska is the perfect example of that. Again, this is another state that has a roadmap. Nebraska leveraged $3 million in taxes and $1 million from private funds to build a $4 million sound studio, or a sound stage, like a lot.
Yeah.
And now they have a tax incentive,
right,
and they are having features. A bunch of Kansas City people were just up there on one of them. There was like 40-something days. So, like, again, another state that has a roadmap of, like, this is what you need to be doing, but Missouri isn't doing it. St. Louis does admittingly have some studios. They have some stages. The problem is that they are used by companies. They are not... Like, when you go to LA and New York, it's not Lost Productions has this soundstage. This is my job. My job is to operate and own these stages, and that's it. That's all we do. When you go out to St. Louis, there's a company that owns Stage A or whatever. Well, they're using it all the time. They're not going to now we're just not going to shoot here so that this movie can come in for 3 months.
Well, I would be interested to know how many stages are in all those states that you mentioned earlier, like Wyoming and North Dakota and South Dakota.
Well, so that's why
New Hampshire.
And that's why they don't have an incentive, because they don't have... They probably don't give a shit. Like, I can't imagine North Dakota and South Dakota care.
Are we able to take a potty break?
Yeah, you can take a potty break.
All right.
We're a little older.
Is your bladder okay?
Yeah.
Like,
bladder's good.
Do you need some cranberry juice? Like, are you
hurting at all? If I had some beet juice.
No, I'm not giving you beet juice because I'm not going to be smelling that while we're sitting here. But yeah, so I don't want to come across that I don't think that Kansas City could house a big film market without an incentive. Like, if we don't like whatever they put out for an incentive and we don't get an incentive, that doesn't mean that we can't have a film community. It doesn't mean we can't have something to be proud of. It doesn't mean that stuff can't come through here. It just makes it exponentially more difficult when Kansas City is seen as a flyover state and where people move away from to go work on other stuff. And the reason that they move away from it is because if I'm a businessman and I've got $50 million and I want to make a movie, right? I can change the location on the drop of a dime. That's not a problem. A bunch of movies and a bunch of TV shows throughout history have shown us that. Like, I wanted this movie to be in San Francisco. Well, we can't shoot in San Francisco. Well, congrats. And now it gets in North Carolina. So, like, it happens. It's business. It's part of what it is. So the incentive helps lure people in because, again, if I'm a rich man, like, that's writing a check for these movies or which one of these groups, and I've got $50 million and I can make a $50 million here or a $70 million there, I'm going to make the $70 million movie every day of the week. How you combat that, though, and what we were kind of talking about off camera, we'll talk back here, is that who is going out and saying, come film in Kansas City? I don't like. I'm in a million Facebook groups. I'm listening to other people's podcasts. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm looking at stuff. There's a million places that people talk about filming in and how cool it is, how much fun it is, how great it is, and no one talks about that with Kansas City unless you live in Kansas City, which, you know, like yes, Kansas City should be proud of, but like if no one else is talking about Kansas City, then like maybe we should look in the mirror. We should figure it out. So like, you guys were at AFM.
Yeah.
So, what did you guys hear? Like, did you guys get the stigma? Because when I go out places, I'm like, I'm from Kansas City. I instantly get a look, and it's like, oh, like this guy sucks.
Bro.
So, what was the reaction to you guys?
We blew motherfuckers' heads off.
He peed, so now he's
seriously.
ready.
You know what I'm saying?
Seriously.
We showed up at AFM, and we stepped in the building, and we were the most prepared, professional. We had the best material. We were the coldest motherfuckers in the building.
Sorry, let's rewind a little bit. What is the AFM? What is the American Film Market?
So the American film market is from my experience, I call it like the Wall Street of like filmmaking. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's like sell. So it's where a bunch of distributors, sales agents, etc. They show up to meet with a bunch of people who are making films, trying to sell films, etc., etc. And you meet at the Lowe's Hotel. They take all the beds out of the rooms, and the beds become offices for all of these sales agents or production companies or distribution companies, etc.
Yes.
You send them once you purchase your badge. They got different badges. Next time we're getting the Platinum Plus Extra Curricular Fabulous badge, whichever one that was the highest. You pay for your badge. They give you access to a directory, and then you have to email these people and tell them who you are, what you've done, and ask them do they want to meet. And if they want to meet, they'll give you a date and time, and you just show up at the room number. You sit down and you tell them what you got.
So it's like speed dating, but with films. You're pitching films as quickly as because is there a window of like how long you have with these people, or is it just as long as
it just depends on when their next appointment is.
Yes, okay.
But
or your next appointment.
Your next appointment, right?
Yeah.
But we talked to Paramount, and our appointment got canceled because the individual we were supposed to speak to had a emergency meeting. But we still ended up meeting with the other personnel for 45 minutes. And then they were like, oh yeah, you guys definitely got to come back and meet with this dude. If he wasn't able to do your meeting right now, let's reschedule, get you guys back in so y'all could tell him exactly what you told us. You know what I'm saying? And we came back and met with Paramount a second time.
And we brought Isai with us that time.
Yeah.
And then we brought Isai to pitch his project to Paramount.
Yeah.
Was this Paramount directly, or was this one of their like?
It's one of their like.
So it's their Paramount's a Paramount. What's it called?
It's one of their
company, and then
it's one of their in-house production teams. Okay. Actually, two of their in-house production teams.
Yeah, which obviously has the clearest line, or the line of least resistance to Paramount directly.
Yeah.
Because they can walk upstairs and talk to them.
These two teams were doing movies between $5 and $10 million each.
Okay.
Six times a year.
6 times a year.
And this is what this AFM is. It's just a bunch of people like this, and you just go and pitch.
It's really hard to get a meeting, honestly.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's really hard to get a meeting, and if you don't have one, then you can kind of knock on the door, and they might, tell you, oh yeah, I got some time, or no, no time, sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was able to get 15 meetings set up for us.
Yeah. Who are the other? Like, are all the big players there? Like you said, Paramount. Like, is MGM there? Like, is everybody there?
The biggest players there were A24, XYZ, Paramount, 101, Archstone, Odin's Eye, and Cone.
So I mean, those are big. Yeah. Those are big companies. Is there? So there's AFM. Is there anything else? Like, is that the creme de la creme, or is there something else even beyond that?
There was more deals that go down at AFM in that market than any other market or festival in the world.
Yeah, because I would imagine that's, I don't have the exact numbers by any means, but I would imagine that price range is the highest volume of movies. Like $100 million movies don't come around that often. Like that $1 to $5 million movie, those quote unquote indie films, that's what most movies are.
Most of that market is distributors and sales agents wanting completed films. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, dude, if it's complete and you have a poster and a trailer, you can get it sold at AFM if you can get in the door to meet with someone.
Yeah. Were you guys the only people from Kansas City that were there?
No.
Besides Isai and Jarrell, I guess, because you guys went with them, didn't you?
We all linked up out there.
Yeah. They were
Yeah.
going. They were already going, and we were going, and then we found out that we were all going, so we just collaborated.
So we all went.
Yeah.
So there were 4 people,
5. Chuck Brown.
Yeah,
was there
Chuck
too.
Brown was
5 people from Kansas City.
And Ofu, we ran into him too. He was there too.
there. Shout out to Ofu.
Shout out to Ofu.
Woo!
Best driver in the world, boy.
So, I mean, but like 5 people from the Kansas City film market, while we're trying to get an incentive, is all that went out to arguably the biggest networking event of indie film, which is what you need. Like, that is what film is. Like, you can't rely on Mega Million series and Mega Million movies to come in and sustain you.
It is here. You know what I mean? It's here. Everything you're trying to do is here. And I give you a metaphor, right? Or I guess an analogy. So when I played football, all these people, once you get to college, all these guys who are on the team who are not playing are going to be like, man, I'm going to transfer because I ain't, you know, it's this situation here is the reason why I'm not playing ball. You know what I mean? So if I get out of here, I'm going to just be able to play ball. I know I am. Well, the fact of the matter is if you can play ball, you going to fucking play anywhere.
Yeah, 100%.
It don't matter where you at.
Yeah, but it's a volume of work when it comes to the industry. Like, yeah, I mean, Khalid, I work 70% of the year.
From an employee's perspective, from an owner's perspective, right, where you're creating your own shit. If you're creating your own shit and you are a ball player, it don't matter where the fuck you at. You could be in fucking hell. Somebody gonna hear about you.
Yeah, no, again, I 100% understand with you, but it's
You know what I'm saying?
it's the money aspect of it. It's the making a business and making a career and making that sale. Like, making a sale is fucking impossible. It's obviously not impossible because people do it, but like, you can't just call Netflix and say, hey, I want to make this movie, even if you fund it yourself. Like, that's just not how the industry works. You can make all the content you want to. You can be as amazing as you want to, but if there's not someone on the other side ready to buy it, you're just making movies for yourself at that point. And they could be fucking fantastic. I'm not doubting the talent level by any means, but the incentive will help with the workload in Kansas City so that you don't have to leave to go other places.
Well, let's crack and dig into that, okay? Because the same mechanism that you're describing that is like pushing these current bills, talking about these current bills in the way they're talking about them, are the same individuals saying online like, oh yeah, all we need is just a tax incentive. All these people talking that shit, they already know that they belong to a tight-knit group of people who consistently get all of the opportunities in the city.
Okay.
And the majority of them are white and male.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And they've been getting the jobs for years, and they're comfortable, they're insulated, and they know that an incentive passed, any of that trickle down shit that happens to land in this motherfucker, they gonna get the job. So they're all for it because they always get the job.
And I have to agree with that because I did talk to a prominent producer in town, commercial producer. I won't name his name, but I told him, I was
I'm gonna start naming names.
It was Brittany Laney.
I was talking to Brittany, and I was like, you know you're getting all the jobs, Brittany.
Yeah.
No, but I was like, do you have any interest in narrative film and narrative production? You want to make a movie, any interest in that? And it's like, no, not really. Like, that's interesting, man, because I know if there was a big movie that came into town and then they made one phone call, say, to like the film office, it's only a matter of time, maybe 1-2 phone calls later before it gets to you. Yeah. For a narrative project that you're not even interested in.
That turns into a money thing, though, especially when you're fighting with commercials. So, like, I'm not trying to brag here. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm not trying to do anything like be show buddy. This is just me being honest. My commercial DP rate is between $3,500 and $4,500. If I was to do a indie film that is between a $1 to $5 million range, my day rate now goes down to $1,000 a day.
But what if it wasn't an indie film? What if it was a big budget?
Well, but like, there's only one, so like, it's more volume than it is. Like, I would prefer. incentive, great regardless. I'd rather it be a volume to fill the incentive than one project come in and wipe it all out. You know, like obviously if you're a DP on a $100 million film, you're obviously going to make significantly more money than you would as a commercial DP. But that's not going to be the case for everybody in the industry. So this producer, who I do not know who you're talking about, but that makes sense to me that they wouldn't want to be a part of that because, one, it's not the world that he necessarily lives in. If you're not a narrative producer, you might like it's different. It's similar, but it's different. Mm-hmm. And again, if you're comfortable making your cash and you're working and you're making $200,000-$300,000 a year and you're in your way and you're doing your thing, and if you have to take a pay cut, let's just say even to $100,000 a year, which is obviously still a great living, why would you do it? Unless you fucking love making movies.
I don't think it wouldn't present itself like that to these individuals because the amount of money that they get per jobs fluctuates, right? So they're already in an ecosystem from a business perspective where there is no set rate for the jobs that they get. They get budgets to execute projects. So therefore, whether the budget was $20,000 today or $85,000 tomorrow, I'm taking it because this is the nature of the work that they're doing. The budgets are going to fluctuate, and so the narrative industry would function in the exact same manner. And what these individuals are able to do, because one, they were some of the pioneers in it for sure, and there wasn't a lot of other people doing it. But two, again, like I said, they all know each other. They all consistently get the work, and they would continue to consistently get whatever happened to trickle down from any of those opportunities. They would be the ones getting it, and it doesn't matter if it's $20,000 or $85,000 because I'm gonna take 38% of that, and then the rest of the money I'm gonna go outsource it to these employees running right here talking about they some filmmakers, right? And I'm gonna give them the least amount of money to get the job done.
It gets different. So the people that you're talking about, and I have a general idea who you're talking about. The budgets that these people are dealing with, they're not doing $10,000 commercials. These are like $500,000 commercials for major brands. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are like set standards and minimums though for all that. Especially, and then same thing when you get to the film side. Like there's union minimums. Like a $10 million movie can't come to town and we go around and give people $100 a day. Like there's literally an entity that will come in and shut the entire production down if that happens. So like, I get what you're saying that it's
if I had $10 million of my own money,
that was my tooth. Woo, baby. I don't know why I'm drinking out of a straw.
A metal straw.
If I had $10 million from any private source, and I was gonna make a movie, and I negotiated a wage rate with some individuals, ain't nobody coming to shut this down.
Well, I mean, if you have SAG actors, and they're like, SAG will just pull their actors.
Right.
They'll just disappear.
If you have SAG actors.
SAG actors.
Well, yeah, but what big name actor are you going to get that's not SAG? You have to have recognizable talent to sell a movie. More or less.
Not a horror film.
No, you're right. Not a horror film. But are you going to only make horror films for the rest of your life? You know what I mean? Like
some people do.
Some people, yeah, and some people are great at it. I don't think that's you.
No, at no point do we want to test not paying SAG actors what their rates are. That's not the point of this, right? So like a $10 million movie comes in, we're gonna pay everyone the proper rates. That's not what he's saying. He's just saying off GP.
Yeah, I'm saying if you're privately funded, you can hire whoever the fuck you want to hire, and whatever they agree to, that's what it is.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, if you agree to it, that's what it is. You sign, that's what you're getting paid. You can't come back afterwards and be like, oh, actually, I lied, I messed up, I meant to do it this way. But, like, when you're dealing with the budget on, like, a feature film or a series, the EP or the LLC, whoever's running the thing, makes a bank account. And that's where all the money comes from. It's not like the producers are giving money in their private account that's like, hey, here's $10 million, like, spend the movie however you want to. It goes into LLC that's heavily monitored by an accountant. You have to show receipts of everything that goes down. So, like, again, when it comes down to money, like if I'm making $300,000-$400,000 a year making commercials and I like my life, I'm not gonna say no just to make movies unless that's what I want to do.
Right.
Like if my passion and my end goal is to make movies, then fuck yeah, I'm switching over. But this guy might not have that end result.
But what I'm saying is is they would get the calls anyway.
Oh yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
you don't have to accept the
Wh-
job. You might get the call, but you can
whatever the
accept
rate
it.
is, they're gonna be the ones getting the call. And even before I could get to the local in general population being included in the bill, I got to talk about minorities and women.
Yeah.
Because once we get those local people in there, I'm still not gonna get a job. My production company ain't gonna get hired. My camera ain't gonna get rented out. Yours is. You know what I'm saying? These other producers who always get the jobs, their production companies are gonna get hired, etc., etc. You know what I mean?
No, I mean I know exactly what you're saying. I would love to have. I mean, my 3 requirements for the language of the bill is first and foremost locals above 50%, but then yes, women and minorities should 100% have some sort of guarantees in there. From a cast and crew perspective,
New Jersey has a 4% diversity tax incentive. They have a tax incentive specifically for diversity initiatives. It's not mandatory.
what's the what do you have to do?
You have to have a 15% women or minority presence.
Or not together?
What do you mean, or not?
Like, could your 15% be 85%
Minorities
white
and
males,
not women?
15% not that?
In good faith, though, you have to show that you've made an attempt to hire.
No, I was
women,
gonna give
et
him
cetera.
some crazy credit if it was 15% women or 15% like they couldn't do 15% of women and people of color. Like it wasn't like you could do 10% women, 5% people of color. You could do like if they made it 15% has to be women or 15% has to be of color. That would be huge.
That would be huge. And if they did that, they would also have to be working with other organizations to make sure they had the capacity to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, they have the population density. Like New Jersey's got 1 billion people. Like Kansas City, I think our population is like 600,000 in the city or something like that. So like they have a bigger pool to pull from, which would help them, fill those quotas and stuff. But like that stuff absolutely should be added to the Missouri bill, and it should 100% be added to the Kansas bill too.
Yeah.
Without question. Like I don't know what the numbers are, to be honest with you. Like I don't know what like would make me comfortable with it. I mean, do you guys have a number of what percentage you would like?
Well,
Funny you should ask.
There's something written in the Missouri bill.
yeah.
right
So
now.
Missouri.
Well, close.
Well, the bill offers currently offers an additional 5% if I don't remember the language, if it's filmed, et cetera, et cetera.
It's like an economically depressed community or a
rural community.
Okay.
It's an either or situation.
Yeah,
Hiring or filming there?
filming there.
Filming there.
So they want the general location to benefit from people being there. Okay.
Right. So,
That's as close as we've got.
yeah, and that's inadequate.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, that
You know
sounds
what I'm
worthless.
saying? That's nothing. But, the state of Missouri has all kinds of regulations about hiring minorities and women. They just completed, the state of Missouri paid, I want to say $500,000 to UMKC to conduct a minority and women small business impact study. And they just completed it in July of this year. And, as with the one that was done in 2014, it's atrocious what's going on here, man. Like numbers in there, like something like basically out of all the contracts, out of all the business contracts that came to the state of Missouri, I want to say in 2021, 71% of them were serviced by outside entities.
Yeah. I could go on a giant tangent about that, about the marijuana industry, if you really want to. It's insane, man.
Right. And they want to
The
have,
marijuana industry is actually a great example of
What we're talking
what
about.
we're talking about.
right, because a bunch of black people had to get together and push to require the state of Missouri to reserve licenses for minorities.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's going to be
You
what it
already
always
know
is.
what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and it did happen, and I'll tell you what happened because I don't give a fuck because I'm pissed off about it. So we moved to Missouri for medical cannabis. Like we lived in Overland Park before. We moved to Kansas City because of we knew this was coming, and partially for us, but also partially because we wanted to work within the industry. So like it comes out, whatever, we go apply for the licenses. Yeah, there's like 3 you can choose from, whatever it was, and oh hey, sorry, we're not taking it anymore. I was like, oh, okay, like didn't really think anything of it. You know when you're gonna be taking them again? No, we'll let you know. Like a year goes by, and I reached back out because it was one of those that I had randomly thought about it one day. I was like, oh, like we should see if that's a thing. Like this is still an interest. Like let's do it. And so we reached back out. Don't get a response right away, so like I just nagged them because I was just curious. And they told us that they still weren't doing it. And I was just like, well, I know that you guys had X amount of licenses like up for grabs, and I sure as shit don't see that many entities that have come to fruition. So like, are you going to start penalizing people who have not started what they applied for years ago or a year ago, whatever it was? No, they can hold it as long as they want to. And so I did a little bit more digging. There are 4 companies that own at that point every single license for the marijuana industry. 3 of them were not Missouri-based companies.
Right.
Like, and that's...
And when you don't put
like,
provisions in the law to prevent that from happening, then that's exactly
what
what's going to happen.
Well, and now they passed Amendment 3, which is fucking horrible, which is its own podcast in itself, but like it's now about to get exponentially worse because it's now recreational legal, and you're going to have a lot of people that are overcharging, and they are going to get very rich, and they're going to monopolize and corner the market more than they already have, and 85 to 90% of them are white males who do not live in the state of Missouri.
And that's exactly what's going to happen with that tax incentive.
Yeah. I'd argue it probably happens with every incentive
and
that's ever come out.
Not only is 95 to 98% of them going to be white males getting any of the trickle down or being the individuals coming in getting the money, but like you said, they're only going to hire minorities in that situation are going to be fucked. All right. The state of Missouri has met its minority participation goal 4 times in the past 30 years. You know what I'm saying?
What a great state we live in.
Yeah.
Something to be proud of.
Yeah.
That's 4 times.
Yeah. That's a 1% success rate since they started collecting.
And all they
the
have
data.
to do is hire X amount of people, right? Like
Well,
that's what that is, or is that
Missouri's
something
goal
deeper?
is to have 10% of all contracts go to minority and or women. 10%.
So 4 times in 30 years, they've had less, or
They've hit the goal.
they've hit the goal of
4
10%
times,
of
yeah.
contracts.
Yeah.
That's one of those that's like so obvious too. It's like when you sit there and you're looking at a quota, like even like just like, oh hey, we should probably like, you know, give a couple of these to the right people just so we hit this number that we set. Because there's probably some sort of benefit that happens when they do hit that. I would assume. Like it's not like they just get pat on the back, right? Or maybe it is. I don't know.
No. When they're able to meet those things, they can take that to the federal government, and there's other money that the federal government provides to the state for meeting these initiatives of the federal government.
Which
You know what
we
I'm
talk about how poor Missouri is and how none of these tax incentives will work because we don't have the money to fund them. But then they're actively 26 times just saying, no, we don't want the federal government's money.
So are you saying that maybe we can get something in this bill so we can maybe hit that goal, and then maybe the state can get some federal money?
Yes.
Damn.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's a great idea, Khalid.
Hey, man. Yeah, I made a fact.
I made a fact thing. It was great. No, I mean, I didn't realize that they were that bad at hitting those quotas and stuff. I mean, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sitting here like, oh my gosh, I thought Missouri was the greatest, least racist state in the world.
And you know what's more surprising? Is when you approach the allies. The allies, man. They the ones getting upset with you. When you tell a film entity that you want some diversity, equity, and inclusion, they look at you as if you received money from a company to shoot a film and then kept all of it and didn't pay nobody.
Elaborate on that. Sorry, you kind of lost me for a second. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, they look at you as if like you are the actual thing that's in the industry not following all the standards. All this bullshit that everybody fucking complains about and they say they would never go for and all this kind of stuff like that. That's how I feel like I've been responded to when I've asked.
Oh, like you guys are the ones that are like, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
here we are talking about, this outline of how we could even get the state federal money by hitting certain marks, right? So when you take that into consideration and then you take the industry that we are all working in, that we want to see grow, we all want to stay here in Kansas City, and we're some active participating citizens in our community, right? You take all that into perspective, we're doing something, trying to improve our community by hitting these goals in this industry we work in. And this industry we work in is talking about a state tax incentive in 2 different states. And what we're trying to prevent is the status quo in the industry that we work in right now.
Yeah.
We've seen this happen in other industries, and we know that when we read these bills, it's just going to be the status quo. So as some change-making motherfuckers here, you know what I mean? We need to change the status quo. So we're trying to do what's in our capacity to do. So I'm trying to talk to as many state people as I can, people that are talking to about the bill, and people who want to see this industry grow. And on top of everything else, people who don't want to see the status quo with that only hitting the mark 4 times out of 30 years.
And when you approach them with that, they look at you like you're problematic.
Problematic.
You're a problem.
Just because you want what's
Equity.
fair. As I say, just because you want to see at the table. Like, that's all that it really is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen every white story out there. They're all the fucking same. You could probably go on Netflix right now, their top 10, and we could probably go through, and they're all going to have the same storyline, but it's all going to be formula with a male white cast with a woman of color as the love interest, and then there's another man of color that
Every
is like the
Christmas movie this
goofball. Yeah. I mean, I just
Every
watched
Christmas movie this year.
I just watched the Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell movie on Apple Plus, Spirited. It was a really good movie,
Yeah,
actually.
I need to watch that one.
It was a musical. It was actually pretty good, but they have a... I think she's either Indian or Pakistani, but she's like the love interest of... Where she has a love interest scene with Ryan Reynolds, and like everyone else is just... Like, there's just white people running around singing.
Yeah.
And like, it's not a bad movie. I love Ryan Reynolds. I love Will Ferrell. I'm not calling that movie's racist by any means, but like, it's the mold that Hollywood is, and that bleeds into all aspects of the industry. It's not just like you can physically see it on screen, but when you go behind the scenes, you also, like, if you ever look at like a cast or a cast and crew photo, like a rap photo or something like that.
Yeah.
It's very apparent. Like, you have the grouping of white people in the middle, and one of them's carrying a camera because he's the DP and the director's there. And then, like, it's almost like as you get to the edges, it gets darker because it's like, oh, it's all the PAs and we had to have a couple of these, we have these, this, whatever, just so we can not look like we fucking suck.
Yeah.
And it's an afterthought, and that's why, and I 100% agree with you. I would love for them to adopt some sort of language like New Jersey did. And have something in there that, have something in there that, guarantees that, because we know that no one's going to do it out of good faith. No one's going to go, let's, 15% or whatever New Jersey does. Well, we should do that anyways. Like, there's people who will say they will do that, but they will never do that.
No.
They will never actually do that. So it would be nice to legally require someone to do that.
Yeah. Because we got people out here who own businesses who are championing the bills, knowing full right and well that they stand to benefit most.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like those individuals should recuse themselves.
Well, and like, that's part of the problem, and that's why people like look at you the way that they look at you when you say that stuff, because that's just generational racism to the point that people don't understand it anymore. Like, like, people think, I own a $100 million company. I employ this many people of color. I have this much diversity within me. I'm not a racist. I've never said anything racist. All right, well, like, but your dad probably did something. He might not have been that bad, but his dad probably pretty bad. His dad, and like, that's where the money came from. So like, it's just rooted within you generationally that you just think that like, this is what it is. It's just fine. When in reality, it's like, well, no, man, like, we've redlined and suppressed the fuck out of entire races of people and entire genders of people that, like, now they want, hey, I also would like to film movies. And you get looked at like, what do you mean? Like, it's just...
Yeah, we're going to give you guys apprenticeships.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
fucking apprenticeship.
Here, you can shadow me for a couple of days.
Bro, when we were at that mixer, I had to let some motherfuckers know. You know what I'm saying? They were talking to me from the perspective of an employee.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, listen, man.
You've said that a couple times. What is from the perspective of employee? What do you mean?
Well, the guy, he asked you, he said, he goes, man, that's a lot of responsibility because, you know, if one of these guys who are getting all the calls, you know, they got to make sure that work is going to be done at a certain level. You know, that's a lot of responsibility when you have that call, right?
Yeah. And I responded to that saying, like, I'm not talking about getting hired by one of the fucking guys. I'm talking about being the fucking guy.
Yeah, you're talking about being the one that gets the call.
Yeah, I wanted to be my ass on the line because I got to hire some motherfuckers and make sure the shit is right.
Yeah.
But they automatically are coming at me like from some employee type shit.
Gotcha. Okay, I understand what
You
that
know
phrase
what I'm
means. Yeah, that phrase just, I was like, I think I know what it means, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Some, you know.
It's just somebody's trying to say that. And
I don't want a job. I want ownership.
Yeah.
I want ownership.
And then all of a sudden the conversation reached the next level. Right?
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
VML and all these big companies out here, man. You know, these companies started in the 60s and shit. What's the other one?
You're talking ad agencies like Barclays?
Barclays, yeah. Started in the 60s. Come on, man. Come on,
What was
man.
going on in Kansas City in the 60s?
Come on, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what time it is. And yeah, you got the most diverse motherfuckers ever. Your head of diversity, equity, inclusion is black. You got another black dude who's supposed to make sure other black people get hired. You done hired a lot of colored folks, but you ain't letting no colored folks get no ownership.
Yeah.
How about VML and what's the name? I'm calling out all these motherfuckers.
I don't remember all the
the
names.
ad agencies is the big three are VML, Barkley, and then Bernstein Rain.
So how about they all get together and look for a black company that's trying to build, which there are, because I saw one on the Missouri minority-owned business thing, and they've been doing pretty well. I want to say that one year they made like $700,000.
Well,
Black-owned ad agency in Missouri.
Pull up the name. I mean, let's give them a plug. Like,
And,
if they're doing this, then let's talk about it.
And why don't these companies get together and make this dude's company the fourth quarter of the market? They ain't doing that. They already got New York and Pittsburgh. They're all over the country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This individual is just here.
Yeah. It's that generational stuff I was talking about.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a deep-rooted...
When you talk about ownership, that's where you're going to lose a lot of them.
Yeah.
Because they want to keep you as an employee.
Yeah.
Or a private contractor.
Well, yeah, when you put that in a movie perspective, I mean, for people that might not necessarily know the numbers, like, you know, PAAC, bottom of the totem pole type positions, you know, not necessarily AC, but like PA, you know, like still an important role, but you're making $250, $300 a day on a decent sized movie. The people hiring you, they're probably walking away from the project, depending on the size of the movie, with $50 to $100,000. You know, like that's exponentially different money, and you don't have to go run around and be the hardest worker on set, which is what PAs are.
Right.
You know, so it's the illusion of inclusion. It's the illusion of, hey, we're helping you get ahead or whatever, or letting you get ahead, letting you get ownership and let you do your thing. It's the same concept as when like Black History Month rolls around, or when Pride Month rolls around, and the companies put the rainbow logo at the top of their company, and then, you know, March 1st rolls around, and all of a sudden it's back to like a green header or whatever it was. You know.
Yeah.
It's the same concept. It's all illusions. It's all make people feel like they're doing something about the situation without doing nothing.
Well, I've been on some of these commercial sets before, and I look around, man, and you can kind of see the producers, and I'm still amazed by still to this day on how many of them I just don't know. It's like, where are you people? Like,
the commercial world is weird.
Yeah.
The commercial world, they live in their little like pods together, and then one will like break free for a second, and you see a glimpse of it, and then he runs back to the pod, and you're just like, who? Like, because I've been here for 6 years in this industry, and I don't know everybody.
Right.
Granted, I did the math the other day. In 2021, I was 70% of my work days were not in Kansas City. In 2022, 85% of my work days were not in Kansas City.
Damn.
Like, I don't know these
You've
people.
been banished.
I mean, really, that's also its own podcast. But you know, and that's part, like, to go back to the incentive a little bit and kind of what you were talking about, that like the people that, like, you're talking about, these people getting the calls because they're the good ones or the clicks and shit like that.
Yeah.
If they were good enough, I just on the podcast a little bit ago gave you the roadmap of how to go make your movies elsewhere with an incentive. Like, you could be the fucking shit here. I can show you how to make your movie elsewhere. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Like, I can get you an extra 30 to 40% like that. Like, it's not difficult. So, like, the people that talk like that, it's all talk. There's a lot of insecurities because this industry is so cutthroat, and so many people are so worried about their jobs and so worried about their security of that job and their money that they, like, they don't help you. I mean, we were talking about stuff with the AFM market and whatnot, that, like, hey, friend, help me. And friend's like, nah, I'm good. And then you found out that, like, friend easily could have helped you. And it's like, you know, it's the community aspect. It goes back to the point of Sapiens. It goes back to the point of this podcast that, like, you know, like, and stop not being a community and just fucking help people. It's not hard.
But it is a capacity thing. And that's something that I keep having to remind myself.
It is a capacity thing.
It's a capacity thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I turned 40 in September. I have a family. I've supported my family for going on 15 years now. I know what it is to take on responsibility, to be something that other people can stand on. I made my money somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So I had the capacity to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, I can understand an individual who's just, you know, jumping off the diving board, you know, ain't had to look out for nothing but themselves and just trying to make ends meet. You know, it does, you know, they can't have a community conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I get that, you know. So it's multiple sides to it.
Yeah, obviously there's different perspectives, and everyone's got their own, you know, version of what's going down and stuff like that. It would be nice though if Kansas City could have a little bit more unification. And when I have this conversation with people, if you're on that little clique that's inside, and the three of us know who these people are, the people watching more than likely also know who these people are. It's fucking community as shit in that little circle. But if you're not in those little arms, you know, singing Kumbaya, like, we're out here like, hey, like, we're trying to be friends, but all these people are also trying to, like, break into that, so, like, they don't want to deal with you. So you're just kind of like...
Well, I'm coming to pop the fucking bubble.
I tried to pop it. And I started working 70 to 85% out of town.
I'm popping it, man.
So just be ready, Khalid. Be ready for it.
I'm popping the shit. And all I'm doing is using the language and the legislation of the state. This is what the state that I live in wants. And so that's what it is. Period. Yeah. Otherwise, everybody's going with a report to the Missouri Ethics Commission.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everybody.
Send them all.
Yeah. So that's what it is. So we popping bubbles. Man.
Yeah, hey, I'm all for it, man. I mean, honestly, a perfect scenario, this incentive, whenever it's supposed to be, I don't know when it's supposed to be voted on or whatever, but hopefully they put in what we want them to put in. It gets enacted. Sapiens is, like, right there.
Number one.
Get the fucking incentive on it, make it, and then, like, we can do, like, the Jackie Chan and, you know, Chris Rock walk away. Not Chris Rock. Oh, my gosh. I'm so embarrassed I just said that. Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker walk away in Rush Hour when they're walking away and they're, you know, doing the dance and the fucking shit's exploding behind them and stuff like that. And just laugh about it. And be like, hey, told you.
Yeah. I will say that the latest candidate to be EP partner on Sapiens hasn't asked about an incentive not once.
No, incentive isn't a requirement.
Not once.
It's just nice. It's just one of those things. The incentive isn't relative when we're talking to you guys, because you guys are hell-bent on shooting everything in Kansas City.
Yeah.
My thoughts and my frustrations come from the people who are not you guys, that it's a money thing. It's a business thing. And I get that, and I respect it, and it's fine. So I have to rely a little bit more on this end, like the legislative, to help get some of the stuff that I'm trying to do. But you guys are hell-bent on it, and I would imagine anyone that you would want to bring on is also, you know, kind of lined up in the same realm as that. So
yeah, but yeah, we're definitely talking the same language, and we need to support each other and what's the word I'm looking for? Advocate for that, for the language. The language needs to be changed. You hear that? The language of those bills both Kansas and Missouri needs to be changed. Not
Changed.
Emphasis on the one in Kansas being changed, and I know we
Yeah.
didn't talk about it a lot, and I don't want to get into it because we're probably reaching the end of people's like threshold to be able
Let's
to
get
listen to
into
us talk. Kansas, you only have to shoot 25% of your movie to get the incentive, and I don't live in Kansas, so it's not my tax money. But if I pay taxes in Kansas and you only had to spend 25% of your budget to get the money that we are promising, I would be pissed.
Wow.
But it also works good for people in Missouri because you could film your movie in Missouri, film 25% in Kansas, and double dip.
I mean, I think it's fine.
I do want to add that when I did a word search for the Kansas and Missouri bill, and I searched for the word minority, I searched for the word women, and I searched for the word local, I think women showed up once in the Missouri bill, and it wasn't in a capacity to service women at all. Local doesn't show up in the Missouri bill. Minority doesn't show up in the Missouri bill. Minority doesn't show up in the Kansas bill either. The word local shows up 3 times in the Kansas bill, twice in the same sentence, and it is not in a capacity to service the local community. And the word woman shows up once in the Kansas bill, also not in the capacity to service women.
On the topic of servicing women, as someone who hires a woman on the majority of my sets, that's Brittany over there, not only do they need to hire women, and this isn't something you put in legislation by any means, but I just want to put an emphasis on that just because you're a woman doesn't mean you have to do a woman's job. And I'm not going to say what those jobs are because there are women that work in those jobs and they love them, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But point being that if you see a female's name come up on camera operator,
Yeah.
hire them
Yeah.
if they're qualified.
Yeah.
You know, if
And
you
it-
see a woman director, do it.
And if they're not qualified, get your ass and your money out in the community and build the capacity to make them qualified, so then you can hire them.
Yeah,
That's what the fuck you do.
Don't
That's
just
what you
put
do.
them in a corner. Don't do what every man in all of history has ever done and say this is the job that you do and you're going to do it well and you're going to fucking like it. Like, this industry is plenty big for white people, for black people, for brown people, for women, for men, for any pronoun you want to go by. It doesn't fucking matter one fucking bit. It is communal. It is 100% good to go for anybody who wants to do it. And I know there's 3 people right here that'll hire any fucking one of you if you have a love for it and you actually want to do it. If you don't want to, then no, I'm not going to hire you. But if you have a drive and you have a desire, like, fucking send me an email and we'll get you on something. I don't know what, but something.
It's true.
Facts.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, that seems like a good note to end it on. Like a good, like, woo moment. We should do like a slow-mo high five and then like freeze frame it. Like, ready? All right, here. That's how we're going to end it. I'm dead serious. This is
Okay.
going to be fucking
Are
great.
you ready?
And... oh, that was bad, but it's good. Sweet. All right, well, thanks for watching, guys. We'll
That
take
was
it.
awesome.
It was fantastic. I love it. Tune in next week, Spotify and YouTube. Okay, thanks. Bye.